When the oil markets panic, African economy feels it immediately. A country like Iran, who is looking, might benefit from this war because world power like the US. The war between US, Israel, and Iran might seem so far away, but Africa is closer to its impact than you think. By the end of this video, you will understand how the ongoing global war between two world power and a country in the Middle East affects your economy far away in the African continent. So let's unpack this together. When the oil market panics, African economy feels it immediately. Why is this? It is because most African country depends on imported refined oil to keep sectors like transportation, agriculture, amongst others. Now, with a country like Iran, who is located in the Middle East, is directly connected to a war with world power like the US and Israel, definitely oil price will skyrocket. And when this happens, African country feels the heat in terms of our economy and in terms of budgets and finances from the government. You might want to say some countries like Nigeria, who are oil producing countries, might benefit from this war because when there's an increase in the price of fuel globally, it affects them because they get to increase their price as well, and in turn they make a lot of gain. And this brings about increase in foreign exchange into their economy. But here's the downside. When a war like this prolongs for too long, it affects currencies. And when there is currency instability, countries who have made gain from oil due to the hike in price also loses the gain due to the instability of currency like the dollar, which affects Nigeria economy, for instance, a whole lot. Another way by which this war will be directly affecting Africa is in terms of the supply chain. The supply chain is going to be under a lot of pressure, and this is going to affect us directly. Now, African countries depend a whole lot on imported goods, from home appliances to groceries to different things we use in our day-to-day activities. Now, when the waterways that leads to Africa is being affected by military activities, because the seaways that are used for this transportation are directly affected by the military activities on the ongoing war. When it comes to shipping to Africa, the shipping goes through places like the Red Sea, the Suez Canal, and these two seas are usually affected by war and military activities whenever the Middle East is in one war or the other. This is going to lead to increased insurance. That's companies that are insuring all these ships will increase their cost because the ships are now at more risks than just going on water transportation. Another thing is the shipping company would need to reroute their directions to other waterways that are not affected by the war. This might be farther, so it's going to lead to an increase in the price of shipping. Right, and when there's an increase in the price of shipping, this will go on to affect the price of the goods. So the layman, the final consumer, gets to feel the heat in the economy. Why? Because when there's an increase in goods and grocery, we get to pay as the final consumers. Talk about aid and global assistance. A lot of African country in recent time has gotten a lot of support from global powers like the US and other major countries, and as well we've gotten support from major world organizations like the UN, who are being funded mostly by this world power. Now, when these world power nations are now focusing their resources on war and war machinery, the focus on humanitarian services, it drops. So now African countries that have been supported by any of this world power or organizations that are majorly being supported and financed by them, they get to suffer, right? In places like where we have in northern Nigeria, where we have displaced people due to activities of banditry and terrorism, now they might not get the necessary support and attention from international organization and world power like they've gotten in the past. So this shifts the focus from humanitarian services to war. And as well, other organization and other country who are not involved in the war, who would decide to support, different parts of the world where they are being affected by one natural or human calamity or the other, are going to be splitting it between Iran, who is now facing issues of recent, Gaza, who have been facing in the past, countries like Nigeria here in the north where there's one issue, and other African countries. So humanitarian support drops and a lot of African countries will suffer. Let's look at this from the point of view of diplomatic stand. When it comes to war that involves global power and countries in the Middle East, a lot of African countries usually, on the chessboard between who do we support, who do we not support, do we stay neutral in this kind of situation. And this is because whatever decision any country takes in situations like this, it goes ahead to determine the kind of diplomatic aid you'll be getting from any of this nation in future. Now, US is a world power, Israeli world power, military strength, Iran, Islamic nation, and a lot of African countries as well has a lot of partnership with Islamic nation and countries in the Middle East. So now the question between our diplomats and government will be thinking about is, do we support Iran? Do we support US? Or do we just stay neutral? What is the advantage if we support the US? What is the disadvantage if we support Iran? What is the advantage if we support Iran? If we stay neutral, what is the advantage? Amongst other diplomatic questions. So this is not necessarily good for us, especially in the kind of fragile situation African countries are being faced by things like terrorism, where we'll be needing military support from world power and military strong countries. So it is quite a very difficult situation our government would be finding themselves during this ongoing war between the three nations. The world today is a global room where something that affects a country in the Middle East can affect you directly in Africa. And this is because distance no longer equates protection. You might want to say, they are in the Middle East, we are in Africa, how does it concern us? Well, I'm here to tell you that the ongoing war between US, Israeli, and Iran does not put Africa on the sidelines, but it puts us in the equation. And any country that does not begin to tighten every loose end in their economy might just be seeing another economic shockwave like we saw during the Ukrainian and Russian war.